Kings Island in Mason, Ohio is what I consider my home park. They have a wide variety of coasters spanning from small kiddie coasters to massive B&Ms. And every time I go to this park, I enjoy myself. And today, I'm going to review this park. I'll start off by ranking all the coasters from worst to best, then I'll give a quick rundown of the park itself. Let's go. The worst coaster in this park is Flying Ace Aerial Chase.
This is the worst!
This might be a family coaster, but it doesn't stop me from hating this with a passion. This is my worst ranked overall out of all my credits. This is my lowest ranked roller coaster. And it absolutely is terrible. And I'm not ashamed to say that this roller coaster is my least favorite because it's a little kids coaster. Even though it's not real little kids coaster, it's more of an intermediate family. But I digress. This ride is rough. The over-the-shoulder restraints are uncomfortable, and how they're positioned, your ears hit them, and it's just awful, uncomfortable, headache-inducing. I feel bad for the kids because this is their ride. This is in Planet Snoopy, and I feel bad that they have to ride this absolutely awful roller coaster. And next up, we have Great Pumpkin Coaster, an E&F Myler kiddie coaster opened in 1992. This E&F Myler kiddie coaster is a credit at Kings Island that is eluding me, and I don't care. I really don't care. It's a little kids coaster. I'm not going to enjoy it, and it's just going to make my rankings of all my credits that I'm currently working on a lot
Myler kiddie
harder.
Coaster opened in
And
1992.
honestly, it looks like it does what it's supposed to. This E&F Myler kiddie coaster pretty enjoyable ride for a credit at Kings Island that is eluding me. Dip their toes into roller coasters. I don't care. I really don't care. It's another roller coaster that I do not. I'm not going to enjoy it.
Woodstock Express, a PTC Figure 8 coaster opened in 1972.
This coaster that opened with the park in 1972 upsets me because it is in the front of the park, yet I do not have this credit. Now, I don't think it'd be an amazing ride. I don't think it'd jump into my top 10, even my top 20. It'd definitely be in the bottom tier of my credits, but it's not a little kids coaster. And I have Flying Ace as one of my credits, so I'll take Woodstock Express as one of my credits. But it looks like a pretty fun family coaster, not offensive, nothing super crazy either. I'm assuming it's a pretty solid ride. And next up, we have
Adventure Express, an aerodynamics mine train opened in 1991.
Adventure Express is another one of those family roller coasters, but it's not in Planet Snoopy. But it's good for what it is. I'm not a huge fan of the mine train. I don't like ending a ride with a dumb lift hill that takes you right into the station. And this ride even teases you. It teases you because it has those little animatronic things with their little fists pumping like, oh, this death is about to near you. But you just go right back into the station. Nothing crazy. You get all this adrenaline start to pump because you're climbing a lift hill. That's what happens. That's what's going to happen whenever you climb lift hills. You're going to get that adrenaline, then you drop, you plummet straight down into the rest of the layout, and it's amazing. That's how roller coasters should be. They shouldn't end with a lift hill because it's annoying, and you get all that adrenaline, and then it's just flushed away for the rest of your trip because you just dropped into the station. And also, on my last trip, I noticed that it was a lot smoother than my first trip to Kings Island. On my first trip to Kings Island back in 2019, I thought that this coaster was extremely rough and uncomfortable, and I noticed that on this trip in 2023, it was smoother, but it wasn't glossy smooth. It wasn't like an RMC glossy smooth. It still had some roughness, but that's what you expect from an aero roller coaster. And next up we have
Backlot Stunt Coaster, a Premier Rides launched family coaster, opened in 2005.
I think this ride is really fun, but since it's a family roller coaster, I don't think I can put it any higher in the list. I think mid-tier is perfect for this ride. I really am happy that Paramount put all these clones into their parks because I really enjoy it. I like the launch into the nice roll up. It's a little twister lift hill, and I also really enjoy the fire ending. It's just a really fun ride. I think it's an awesome family roller coaster, and I think kids of all ages and even adults too enjoy this roller coaster. It is a really good coaster for the GP. And next up we have
The Bat, an aerodynamic suspended coaster, opened in 1993.
The Bat is pretty fun, and for a aero suspended coaster, it's fairly intense. And I really like how this ride has a drop straight out of the station, unlike some other aero suspended coasters. I also like the story of this ride. I like how Kings Island called back to their original aero suspended coaster called the Bat that was open from 1981 to 1983. I like how they rethemed and renamed it to that just to honor the original. And I don't think it's crazy intense, but I do like the feeling that you're swaying back and forth and how you go swing out on every turn. I think it's a fun ride. I don't think it's anything crazy. Overall, just pretty good. And next up we have
And Vertigo, a Vekoma giant suspended boomerang, opened in 1997.
I really think Vertigo is a pretty good ride, but I don't think it's anything crazy. I think it's underrated by the coaster enthusiasts. Whenever they go to Kings Island, they just walk right past it. And that could also be its tremendous amount of downtime. But I think this ride's pretty fun. I mean, considering it's a old Vekoma looping coaster, it's fairly smooth. It's fairly smooth. It's a pretty enjoyable ride. I like the thrills of going backwards, and I also like the gimmick of facing your friends whenever you're riding this roller coaster, which makes sense why Paramount named it Face Off. But some things I don't like about it is the station looks like you're about to go to a prison cafeteria, and it's just a pretty short ride, but I don't think it's really that bad. I don't really think it's any that good either. And next up we have
The Racer, a PTC out and back wooden coaster, opened in 1972.
The Racer is another one of the roller coasters, along with Woodstock Express, that opened with the park in 1972. And I want to praise Kings Island for a little bit for keeping this roller coaster in such good condition. The recent repaint back in 2022 has made this not look as jank as some other painted wooden roller coasters that are around the nation. And I really enjoy this ride. It has some pretty good airtime. I also like the thrill of thinking this roller coaster is about to fall apart because it's 50 years old and it's wooden and it goes really fast. And I also like the racing aspect. Even though it's not interactive, I like interacting with the as you're going up the lift hill and as you come back into the station, even though it's happening on overall, really good. Next up, we have
Mystic Timbers, a GCI twister, opened in 2017.
Before you rush to the comments, I want you to know that in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I seem to be the minority whenever it comes to this ride. I don't think it's really that crazy, and I think it was severely overhyped by Kings Island, especially the shed part, but I'll get back to that. But I think this ride is good, but I don't think it's elite for the park. I think the airtime's good, and I like the setting in the woods, but I don't think I can see myself putting it behind the rides behind it, and I don't think I can put it ahead of the rides that are ahead of it. And when it comes to that shed is such a buzzkill because you get in there and you think something cool is going to happen, and it's some screen with a snake on it, and it doesn't fit the theme, and it's just dumb. But if you like this ride, good for you, but I just am not a huge fan. Next up,
Flight of Fear, a premier ride spaghetti bowl coaster, opened in 1996.
Flight of Fear was actually my number one roller coaster until my trip to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay, where I realized that so much more was better than this ride. But Flight of Fear still manages to make it into my top 10, and everything ahead of this is also in my top 10. So, how do you like that? Well, I think this Premier Ride Spaghetti Bowl coaster is really fun. I like the launch. I like the theming. I like how whenever you exit the ride, you don't exit in the main part of the station where you entered. It makes a cool effect. I do think that the Martians that are hung up look stupid. It looks like these mannequins are wrapped in parchment paper, but I really like the ride, and I do think it'd be better if it was outdoors, and I can see this ride dropping out of my top 10 and continually dropping in my rankings as I ride more and more roller coasters. And next we have
The Beast, a Charles Dinn designed in-house wooden coaster, opened in 1979.
I love The Beast. The Beast is the best wooden roller coaster in Kings Island. I will die on that hill. I really, really, really love The Beast. I'm not a huge fan of the second lift hill, but I like what they do with it afterward. I like how it goes into that intense tunnel helix, because if they just had a lift hill into nothingness, then it would not be as good. I really love how fast it is. I like how they smoothed it out recently. I really love the tunnels. Those are some of my favorite elements on wooden roller coasters. I love tunnels and I love head choppers. That is why Iron Gwazi is my favorite roller coaster, but I digress. This roller coaster is so much fun, and whenever you think about it as the world's largest backyard coaster, you really start to grow a higher appreciation for this. And I think it's pretty sad that the Dinn Corporation couldn't make better roller coasters, but the Dinn Corporation was important, because if we didn't have the Dinn Corporation, we wouldn't have a lot of our best RMCs. And next up, Diamondback, a B&M Hyper, opened in 2009. This coaster signified a new age for Kings Island. It signified that Cedar Fair was going to invest a lot of money into this park to make it the second best Cedar Fair park, and in some people's opinion, it's the best Cedar Fair park. And it is so much fun. If you've been on other hypers, you know what I'm talking about. The extreme amounts of floater airtime and the high drop, and it's just amazing. I can't really describe it because it's that good. And I also really like the splashdown finale. My only problem is that I've never had a back ride on this roller coaster, so I don't think I can put it higher. But once I get that back row ride, it'll probably jump up my total rankings and will probably jump up the rankings in this park. And next up, we have Banshee, a B&M invert, opened in 2014. Even though I'm kind of an airtime junkie, I love B&M inverts. They are my second favorite model because they're just so fun, they're so intense. Montu is my number 2 overall roller coaster, and Banshee is fun. I prefer inverts over hypers, even though I really like airtime, as I said before, but I really love inverts. And Banshee is the second best invert. Banshee is intense. There's no pre-drop, which is weird, but I love it. And all the 7 inversions, it's super long, it's super tall, it's so much fun. If you love inverts and if you love intensity, then you'd love Banshee. I'd also like to mention that since this roller coaster was built in 2014, unlike all the other inverts that are built in like the 90s, B&M was able to work out other stuff, and they were able to make a ride that is unlike any of their other inverts out there. And next up, the best roller coaster at Kings Island is Orion, a B&M Giga, opened in 2020. unsurprisingly, the B&M Giga is the number one roller coaster in the park. Well, because it's a B&M Giga. I really love this roller coaster. I really respect this roller coaster. This roller coaster is what made me an enthusiast. Every enthusiast has a roller coaster that made them an enthusiast, and this is that ride. It really ended my fear of roller coasters, and I had so much fun on it, and my best friend grayed out on this roller coaster, so there's a funny story too. My only negativity about this ride is it's not really a standout. It's kind of cookie cutter, but overall, I really think this roller coaster is better than anything in this park. Now it's time for a review of the park. I'm going to start off with the negatives and end with the positives because I want to end on a good note. Why would I want to end on a bad note? That's why every ranking starts with the worst and goes up to the best. If you watch a ranking and it's best to worst, then that's a negative person. I'm sorry to say, but that's just the truth. But Kings Island, I really think this park needs a standout. Orion might be the best in the park, but I don't think a B&M can really be a standout in any park. Maybe a dive, maybe a hyper invert, but other than that, it's just B&M's layouts are too cookie cutter. And I'm not saying that B&M's bad, because I think B&M's really good. I mean, you see why they're the number one coaster manufacturer in the world. It's for a reason. They are reasonably priced, and each park will know that they're getting a good quality ride for their money. But I think what would make this park so good, and maybe even better than Cedar Point, is a ground-up hyper hybrid RMC iBox coaster that is named Grandson of Beast. I know the Son of Beast was a failure, but we need a really, really good roller coaster at Kings Island just to make it just something else. It needs to stand out, because you go here and kind of Orion, Banshee, and Diamondback all kind of mesh into each other, and they all fight for that standout spot. Some parts of some rides are better than others. Some parts of rides are worse than others. It's kind of difficult to differentiate all the different roller coasters in the top whenever it comes to those top three. But now it's time for the positives. This park is really, really, really clean, and the operations are spectacular. I've never had a bad experience at Kings Island. I think the ride ops are really cool. They make it fun. They seem like they're having fun whenever they're announcing it. I think all the ride ops are enthusiasts. They're definitely not, but they look like they're having a lot of fun doing what they're doing, and they don't staple you, so you get to get a really good amount of airtime whenever you ride your rides. Also, the food is pretty solid, especially for a theme park. Compared to Busch Gardens Tampa, the food is much better, and I like the 15 minutes drinks. I like the every 15 minutes, if you get the meal pass, you can have a drink, and their selections are top-notch. And if you haven't been to Kings Island, get yourself over to Mason, Ohio. Make a vacation out of it. You can make a weekend vacation out of it. Go to Kings Island, go to Cincinnati, enjoy the city, and especially enjoy the park. But that's all I have for you. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. I really want to grow this roller coaster channel because I really like talking about roller coasters. And if you want to, share the video. If you have friends that you know like roller coasters, share this video. I really want to grow so I can make more content for you guys, ride more roller coasters, so again I can make more content. Thank you, and God bless.